What's up guys? Today's video is on the top 10 best drip coffee makers. I made this list based on my personal opinion, and I'll try to help you find the right one for your needs. To see the most up-to-date prices, and find out more information about these best drip coffee makers, you can check out the links in the description below. Let's get started. Number 1. OXO Brew 8-Cup Coffee Maker. Best less expensive coffee maker. I've been testing this OXO model for a couple of months now, and like it just as much as the Bonavita. I'll continue to use it going forward. 2. To make sure it holds up over time. It's just as simple to use. You turn it on, then select from two different settings. More on that in a moment. The machine automatically shuts off when finished. This takes a few minutes, but you can also turn it off manually if you prefer. One setting is for brewing 5 to 8 cups of coffee into an insulated carafe, which is what I primarily use. The carafe has a tiny valve hole in the lid so that the coffee brews directly into the otherwise covered vessel, as opposed to the Bonavita, which has a larger, fully open top that you cover after it's done. It traps heat and aromatics better, says Noah McKeown, a general manager at Go Get 'Em Tiger in Los Angeles. But there's also an insert filter that allows you to brew 2 to 4 cups of coffee instead of 5 to 8, which you can do directly into a mug for a single cup. The process is basically the same. You fill the chamber with the amount of water you want, and add the corresponding amount of grounds. Then you just have to remember to slide the tab on the carafe over to the image of a mug, and select the clearly marked button to start. In this case, the machine pulses out less water at a time, and there's a bit more agitation when it hits the ground beans. Number 2. Mr. Coffee 12-Cup Coffee Maker. Best even less expensive coffee maker. If you don't want to spend the money on a more advanced machine, this Mr. Coffee machine will get the job done totally fine. I used it for a few years before switching to a stove-top percolator to save counter space. More on that below, and was never disappointed. It produced a smooth cup and was super simple to operate. I simply measured my ratio of ground beans to water, and flipped the on switch. Jamie McCormick, co-owner of the East Village coffee shop Brew, tells us he prefers to keep things as simple as possible. When it comes to coffee machines, people make a big to-do over a lot of nothing. When it comes to brewing equipment, he says, he thinks a plain old Mr. Coffee is a first-rate choice for any amateur coffee roaster who wants to flatter their grounds. But he also has an expert piece of advice. Since it doesn't have a high-tech mechanism for distributing the water evenly, like some of the other models on this list, he says you can open the top flap while it's brewing, and stir the grounds to make sure they all get hydrated. Number 3. Farberware Classic Series Yosemite Stainless Steel 12-Cup Stove Top Percolator. Best stove-top coffee maker. This is the coffee maker I used at home for several years before I moved on to the Bonavita, but I still love it. So much so that I've even kept it stored away for potential future use. It's made entirely from stainless steel save for a handle on one side, and a little glass knob at the top, and using it is simple. You fill the main chamber with water. There are lines inside that tell you how many cups you're adding, and then scoop your coffee grounds into a filter cup. No paper required. The filter cup slides neatly on top of a thin pole inside the main chamber, followed by a perforated disc on top, and then you seal it shut with a tight-fitting lid. The brew time, first over medium-high heat, then over a slightly lower flame, is little more than 10 minutes. Allison Carroll, founder of Wonder Valley, shares my enthusiasm for the percolator. For her, the analog process evokes a sense of nostalgia and eliminates the need for electronics in the morning, which she appreciates. It requires a bit of patience and attention to watch the color change through the sight glass, but it makes a damn fine cup of coffee, she says. Number 4. Technivorm Moccamaster Coffee Brewer, 40 ounces. Best high-end coffee maker. The Technivorm Moccamaster was the second most recommended coffee maker by the experts I spoke with for this story. It's pricey, but those who use it say it's worth the premium if you want to invest in the best equipment out there. Like the Bonavita connoisseur, the Moccamaster has stable temperature control, and even brewing. Syed Modi, founder of Driftaway Coffee, explains that while the Brewing mechanics are similar to those used in less expensive, drip, coffee makers. The Moccamaster is made with better parts and solid construction. I've been using it daily for years with zero issues. It's just no fuss. And honestly, it looks good on the kitchen counter. That's one point on which John Gourley, the front man of Portugal, the man, agrees. Not only does it look amazing, but it's just a drip-style coffee maker. That's probably the thing we use the most in our house. While the design is certainly appealing and the construction quality means it should last for a long time, the experts wouldn't endorse this coffee maker if it didn't also make a quality drink. I taste coffee from all types of brewers, and this one gives a consistently better cup, says Jim Munson, founder and president of Brooklyn Roasting Company. Ali Walsh, co-founder of Los Angeles's Canyon Coffee, agrees, noting how smooth the brew comes out every time. Number 5. Nespresso Vertuo Plus, Coffee and Espresso Maker, by Diolandi. Best pod coffee maker. If you're interested in a simple pod-based machine, this Nespresso also turns out single servings of espresso and coffee. Textile designer Caroline Hurley and clothing designer Alex Crane, both coffee fanatics, have used it every day for a few years and love it because it's just so easy. Hurley says, you simply place a pod into the slot at the top and click a single button. The maker heats up and brews in seconds, then automatically deposits the used pod in a container in the back to empty and recycle with some specific guidelines. Crane says he appreciates that it only produces 1 cup at a time, so he can watch his consumption. He also notes that it makes a gentle sound, unlike some others that sound so loud and sinister. Hurley, meanwhile, says it tastes just as fresh as when you grind your own beans and appreciates that the company offers a wide variety of flavors in a tester pack. Number 6. OXO Good Grips Cold Brew Coffee Maker. Best Cold Brew Coffee Maker. Cold brew makers are not exactly plug-in electric coffee makers, but they're important nonetheless, especially for iced coffee year-round people. This one is a favorite of Dennis Mgo, chef and co-owner of Brooklyn restaurant D&D. I got hooked on the smoothness and low acidity of cold brewed coffee, says Mgo. It lets me tinker with different beans and concentrations. It also stacks for storage, which is an absolute requirement for my tiny New York apartment. Michael Phillips, director of content and copy at Blue Bottle, recommends the Toddy Cold Brew system, a similarly priced model that he's been using for nearly 2 decades in his own home. It's a little over twice the size, 67 ounces instead of 32, but that's something he appreciates. He brews the concentrate once a week, or so, and is able to drink 1 to 2 cups a day. From that amount before he has to start the process over. He's also partial to the paper filters. The maker includes 3 to start, that you can replenish. Number 7. Ninja 12-Cup Programmable Coffee Maker CE251. Best Budget Drip Coffee Maker. This easy-to-use machine consistently brews hot coffee, at the right strength. Someone who wants a decent, low-fuss drip coffee maker for under $100. This machine will brew reliably good coffee whether you use freshly ground or pre-ground beans. So this an especially good choice if you typically buy the latter. Among the budget drip models we tested, the Ninja 12-Cup Programmable Coffee Maker CE251 made the most balanced and the hottest cup of coffee. It has convenient, simple-to-use features, like different settings for a classic or richer taste, and its removable water tank is easy to read and fill. This model was also intuitive enough to program, so it's suitable for shared kitchens. Number 8. Kalita Wave 185 Dripper. Best pour-over coffee dripper. People who want a manual, inexpensive method for making great-tasting coffee, and one that doesn't take up a lot of space. The pour-over method is simple, and it produces delicious coffee. By having more control over the brewing process, you can hone each variable to get the most flavor out of the beans. Of all the drippers we tested in our guide to the best pour-over coffee makers, our favorite was the Kalita Wave 185, because it produced the most consistent, even, and flavorful cup of coffee. Its flat bottom promotes more even drainage, which makes it easier for beginners to master. In addition to the glass model shown here, you can also get a ceramic or stainless steel version of this dripper. All perform about the same. In comparison with an automatic drip coffee maker, a multi-step, gear-intensive method of making coffee can be a bit complicated, especially if you're groggy first thing in the morning. But the Kalita Wave 185 is more forgiving and easier to master than many drippers. Number 9. Espro P3 French Press. The best French press. This inexpensive French press has an innovative filter that consistently makes cleaner, more nuanced coffee than the competition. People who want a super simple, quick method of making coffee, this is great for coffee drinkers who want something that's easy to learn and master. The Espro P3 French press produces consistently clean, bright, flavorful coffee. It has a bucket-shaped double filter, with finer mesh than that found in most French presses. This keeps coffee as close to grit-free as you get with a pour-over, and noticeably more so than coffee made in our runner-up pick, the Bodum Chimboard. Once the Espro is plunged, it keeps the grounds away from the coffee, so your java doesn't take on bitterness from oversteeping. In our tests, the last cup we poured tasted as good as the first even a full hour later. Glass presses will never be as sturdy as their stainless steel counterparts. All glass beakers are delicate and will break if you drop them or knock them too hard. In the event that the Espro P3 does break, you can buy replacement parts, including beakers and filters. Number 10. OXO Brew 9-Cup Coffee Maker. The best drip coffee maker. This stylish brewer makes consistently good coffee and has an effective thermal carafe, and you can program it to brew automatically before you wake up. Anyone who wants a solid drip coffee maker to make a pot of great tasting coffee that stays hot for hours. If you already own a good grinder, the most important part of any coffee setup, and you pay a premium for gourmet beans, this machine will get the most out of them. Why we like it? The OXO Brew 9-Cup Coffee Maker is fast and convenient, with features such as a programmable start time and an automatic pre-infusion cycle, which briefly wets the coffee before brewing for better extraction. In our tests to determine the best drip coffee maker, we found that the coffee was pleasant and much better than what we made with some of the competitors. This coffee maker has a handsome design, with a well-made thermal stainless steel carafe that pours easily and keeps coffee hot for hours. The OXO model has an unintuitive interface, so if you don't read the manual, programming the timer can be difficult. But once you get the hang of it, the process is pretty straightforward. In our years of long-term testing, we've also noticed that the lid on the OXO coffee maker's carafe tends to trap old coffee. Even a good rinse isn't enough to flush everything out.